Luke, we're here in Bali at the Seed, and Luke and I are right now at an intensive event run by Dan Bolton.
Sorry, Lou, not Luke. Lou, L-O-U.
I've been saying Luke this whole time, bro.
That's right. I don't even know what it is, mate.
Fuck, my bad. I'm sorry, man. I heard Luke.
Bro, great B-roll. We've only been together 2 or 3 days. It's fine.
I've been saying it the whole time too. You've not pulled me up until now.
I didn't even notice, to be fair.
Fuck. My bad, bro.
I don't even say
Lou.
Because the Indonesians can't pronounce Lou. They're like Lao, Liu. So I just say Antonio. Normally.
No
so on my
shit.
bill, I'll say Antonio. But never mind.
My bad, bro. All right. Fucking cut. Next take. So Lou and I are here at a Bali intensive with Dan Bolton. We have, I think there's probably 15 to 20, somewhere in there, other entrepreneurs and people who want to come here and learn. Luke, tell us a bit about what you do, what area you're in, what you specialise in. We'll get into the story and stuff, but what do you do, mate?
I don't know if you just hit my watch go off. That's just another Shopify sale come through. Literally, you
Let's
can
go.
verify it. So I've been e-com for 10 years. 10 years this year. Started with building my own sports nutrition company. Scaled that to 6 figures, and then I joined forces with a family member who we then had 40 years cumulative in golf. Clubhead manufacturer, is also a PGA pro. So it was a good marriage of skill sets of 40 years golf clubhead manufacturer at the top level, and then my 3 or 4 years of direct to consumer product based e-com. We kind of collaborated, and that just kind of rocketed up to 7 figures really quickly. And then other brands in the same niche, so still within golf, they then came to me to say, can you replicate the success you've had with this brand? Then another one came, then another one came, then another one came. So I've kind of got a weird hybrid setup of being incredibly good at a lot of things within e-com, but then it's evolved over time into more of an agency model while still having my own brands. So the way I set up now is every brand that I work with, I don't do any outbound. They normally just come through referrals, which is great. I will normally take rev share, retainer, and equity in the company as well. So it's kind of building for and looking after the short term and incentivizing the long term. That's a long story short. As short as I can make it.
And it's you started with e-com mainly, that was your bread and butter expertise kind of thing.
And I knew nothing. When I say I knew nothing, I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was probably until I was 24.
How old are you now?
33.
33, yeah. Same as me.
Old man.
Yeah.
Old man.
Old man. Yeah, pretending to be young.
Yeah, exactly.
We were talking about this yesterday because, to give context, Lou and I were at the dinner table and we just struck up conversation. Halfway through the conversation, we were sitting there and we're just kind of everything we're saying is perfect for value for creators who are coming, not even creators, but people who want to run businesses and break away from the system and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. So you and I were kind of this should be a podcast type situation. And I've never done one of these before, and I'm not sure if you have or not.
I've done a few, yeah.
You've done a few. So this is my first one, but I kind of wanted to make sure we got the ideas of kind of where we've gotten to in our own right, and that we're sharing with each other, that people would find value in, that are coming through. And as every young entrepreneur kind of experiences, or business owner, or whatever you want to call it, however you want to label it, I feel the aspect of how hard it is in the beginning, not knowing anything, is the most common thing.
For sure.
And so for example, your struggles, what did you, when you first got started, what were you doing in the earliest days when you were starting? And what were the common problems or the biggest challenges you had when you were starting?
So one big limiting thing on my journey was I didn't know anything about anything to do with business. So I've worked since I was 12, brought up in a council estate, which is kind of government funded housing, my whole life. Didn't have good people around me at all. I had this kind of distant vision of what I wanted, and it was that classic time, location, and financial freedom. And the problem was I was finding my way in the dark for so long. I didn't have any resource, so I couldn't afford a mentor. The only thing I could do was buy books, and back in 2015 there wasn't a huge amount on e-com. So it was literally a case of you've got the vision, but then you have to reverse manufacture and figure out a way to architect a route to getting there. So it's there's a massive void between your current situation and my desired situation. in every single step of the way, because I couldn't just throw money at something. I couldn't just hire someone. I had to learn to do absolutely everything myself.
Yep.
So what you end up with is quite an eclectic mix of skills that it's all about being, I reframe an entrepreneur as a title to a problemologist. And it's just a series of breaking things down into individual problems.
Yep.
And then it's just breaking one thing at a time, because if not, it's so easy to get overwhelmed, because that desired situation is so far
It
out
seems
of reach.
like it's so far away.
Yeah, well, it physically was as well. Like, I wasn't the person I needed to be worthy of the success that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So I would say most of it was internal work. Yes, you have to understand the practicalities of business, of software stacks, of ways of working, understanding like all of those key modules like finance, supply chain, manufacturing. And then it's like, I always say, the skill set without the mindset will leave you upset.
Love it.
Yeah, and that's like,
I love that.
It's easy to say, but it's an ongoing process. So you have to switch into the scientist mode brain of every day is a school day. And you have to accept that the more you know, the more you realize you know nothing. And that, as a 24, 25-year-old guy, you literally have to park your ego at the door and go back into that learning mentality of school. And I think that's the thing on the mindset side. For the majority, education stops the second you leave school.
Absolutely.
Or you leave university or college. And then it's just a case of kind of things are prescribed or ascribed to you from society, from your family, from your friends, that are expected of you. And you just kind of blindly go ahead with that.
Absolutely. And like working into that, you said that really well, in a sense, like as either if you're younger or if you're a bit older and you're still first getting started with, if it's online business, you want to have that time, location freedom, and money freedom as well. Like, you can see what the vision is, but trying to get to that point, the in-between part in the learning aspect is the hardest part. And the iteration of your own person is more important than any strategy. And so, like, as Tony Robbins, I think it's Tony Robbins says, it's like 80% psychology, 20% strategy. And most of people in the early stages can't wrap their head around the fact that they just need to keep on trying.
Seriously.
And it's just like bashing your head against a wall until that wall breaks. And you're going to come out the other side a completely different person, purely because you've put up with so much pain and suffering to be able to get to that point. And that's the thing that people miss. They see the glamour of what the outcome is, and they forget that the period before that the person experienced to be able to get to that point was like what molded them into the human they needed to be able to get to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, it's trying to think of an elegant way to put it. It's not that life happens to you, life happens for you and through you. And if we're able to grow through these things, and then one key lesson that I learned was, and this is like super important and fundamental, is just as a basic modality in the frame that you look at the world, is to reframe failure as the most information-rich data set on the planet. And like, again, just wind it back to school, you thought failure is bad, getting bad grades is bad, where in business and life, if you can reframe and actually go after and seek failure, obviously intelligently, and fail fast, this is how you make progress. Ray Dalio has a good quote where it is pain plus reflection equals progress. And that's how you actually, again, me not having good people around me, I literally had to fail my way forward. And my mentality was, as long as I'm falling forward, I'm still making progress. And to the extreme of, I would rather run 1,000 miles in the wrong direction than stand still.
Absolutely.
That's the level of mentality you have, because that's how you bridge the gap. Because you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you don't have the skills, you don't have the mindset. You said 80% mindset from Tony Robbins, I'd say 90% mindset. It's so true.
Absolutely. And tell me about, so talk about early struggles and that kind of thing, and with your first e-com store as an example, what was your first store? What did you start? How many failures did you have? How many stores did you have to launch before you were like, something actually worked and got you a return?
Okay, so I was actually quite fortunate that the first business I set up and ran is still running today. Very rare. But it took me 10 years to make it sustainable. Now I can run it to like 1-2 hours a week. But those first 4, I would even stretch it to like 5 years, were horrific, to the point where you think business is going to be there to fund your lifestyle, but actually an e-com business is a cash-eating monster. And it's like, there's that, again, expectation versus reality of what this is actually going to do versus the practicality of how you need to set up certain systems, you need to understand the cash flow elements, so many different hats that you need to wear every day, that it just took me so long. And because I didn't have good people around me, and this is the importance of networking, having people you can call on, this is probably why it took me so long. And I had a lot of resistance to paying for knowledge or paying for mentors, for example.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's probably, if there is a shortcut, and there are no shortcuts, but the closest thing you'll get to a shortcut in life is to buy knowledge from those who are 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. It can save you like so much pain, and more than anything else, it's time.
Yep.
Like, time's your only non-renewable resource, right? So if you can claim some of that back and avoid money as well, like, think of how much the mistakes cost you. Think of how much time that you can never get back that then has an indirect cost attested to it.
100%.
That's it. But so the backstory on my nutrition business. So I used to work for Newcastle United, which is a Premier League football soccer club. Soccer, yeah. I studied sports science, graduate. I paid myself through university. I was working like 3 jobs at the same time, just to keep my head above water. And I got that job in the football club by working evenings and weekends for free as an intern, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I didn't have a single day off, and I'm not exaggerating, even Christmas, for 3 years.
Yep.
Which is crazy. Again, and this is like, I was a little bit later going to university or college than others, so I was a little bit like, I didn't really fully integrate, but only because I didn't have the bandwidth to do it. I was just so focused on, like, I don't know, having a nice car, or not going in the red, or just kind of staying out of my overdraft. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much on that. We'll come back to it because it's an interesting story.
Yeah.
So when I was at the football club, I worked with the academy team, so the young ones, and I noticed their nutrition was terrible. It's obviously governed largely by the parents, and the parents are working full-time jobs. Some of them would commute 2, sometimes 3 hours each way, 3 to 4 times a week. Because football or soccer in the UK is massive, and every parent has the tendency to live vicariously through their kids.
Yeah.
They want the success for them, so they will do whatever it takes.
Right.
Anyway, the problem with that is they don't have time to cook when they go home. The kids are very fussy, picky eaters. So 9 times out of 10, they would be driven by convenience and also cost. So they would just go drive by McDonald's on the way home. They would get this rubbish snacks out of the vending machine. So that was the problem I saw in the market. So, and this is also the biggest mistake. Instead of actually talking to and gathering case studies and understanding parents, I saw the gap in the market, and then I kind of went all in on, right, I need to create an easy to consume, nice tasting product for these kids that is going to kind of be a brilliant substitute for kids either skipping meals, going to bed hungry because it would be the evening training. They want to go to bed and have to cook and then go straight to bed and then get up the next day and they're still at school.
Yep.
Or just eating junk out of the vending machine.
Yeah.
So that was the idea. I had nothing. I was in probably 30k of consumer debt.
Yeah.
This is just off like life happening to me and just kind of going with the flow, and I don't know, wanting to have a nice car. Again, just all of the status games that you play when you're young, right? I didn't have a clue.
Yep.
I permanently lived in my overdraft.
Yep.
So I had no way of activating this and getting this going. So what I did do that a lot don't, because sometimes when you get a good business idea, the limiting belief is if I tell someone or anyone, they're going to copy me.
Yeah.
That's very, very, very rarely
Or
the
they're
case.
going to shit on you, so you're not going to be able to get forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's actually a good thing, because I actually told people to play devil's advocate, because I was like, prove me wrong, prove me that this isn't a good one, and no one could actually come up with a good enough argument.
Right.
So it was actually a bit tactical. But anyway, I told as many people as I could with that reason of, am I crazy? Like, is there something fundamentally wrong with kids having like a meal replacement or food powder shake? And again, I was able to counter everything. Had no money, nothing. A friend of a friend's dad had recently sold his roofing company, and he got in touch with me saying, so-and-so told me about this idea. My dad's just sold this company. He's looking for places to strategically invest. Would you like to speak to him? I'm like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, I'm completely underprepared for this.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen more than 2k in my bank account. Yeah, literally never.
How old are you at this stage?
24.
24.
23,
yeah.
24,
Yeah.
in and around that. So I was like, okay, I'll go and see him. I still remember the slide, so I'll have it somewhere. A horrific pitch deck, like the worst thing you'd ever see. But anyway, somehow I walked out of that room with 10k English, so that's 20k Australian.
Yeah.
I had no right to do it, but I think the thing that got me through was the passion, and you could see the drive and the ambition.
And it was just blind ambition at this point.
Pure
You're just
ambition,
like,
yeah. Yeah, and obviously they could see merit in the idea as well because it's kind of completely blue ocean, which means there's no competitors. You'd be first to market, therefore by default the biggest.
Yep.
Like Kevin Kelly's thing, a market of one,
Yep.
that type of thing.
Yep.
I'll be the only. So that kind of was going for it. And then I think it was just, with investors most times they invest into the entrepreneur because the entrepreneur is going to be the one who's accountable.
Vision.
Exactly, yeah. Vision, values, all of that, and they could maybe sixth sense the integrity.
Yeah.
So again, very fortunate as to how that happened. But anyway, I remember like seeing 10k in my bank account going, like I was overjoyed for 5 minutes, and then it turned to like shit.
Holy
like,
fuck!
What am I going to do with this
I
money?
have a responsibility now.
I've literally got no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll try and summarize because this story is like super long.
Yep.
It took me almost 2 years to develop this product. Bear in mind, I don't know anything about contract manufacturing, I don't know anything about formulation. I had to kind of find people who would actually work with me on the idea because the food industry is horrible. It's super slow, like crazy slow, and if they're not getting big repeat orders from the outset, it's not worth that time to invest. So I phoned, I think it was like 52 individual contract manufacturers, and these are hard to find because they're not traditional businesses.
Yep.
They don't have websites, they're not listed in like yellow pages or anything because they don't need to. They just have like, I don't know, 5 to 10 enterprise clients who just put in like bulk volume.
And if they do have websites, they're usually fucking rubbish.
They're terrible.
Like they just look like a complete scam.
Literally like a 90s OG website like that, DOS based.
Yeah, it's like clip art.
It's literally that was exactly what it looked like. But anyway, every single one, apart from 2, were like, won't touch it, never been done before, there's no volume, the market's unvalidated, you've never run a business before, I'm not going to take a chance. Because it is quite a big investment of time from them because they have to go through the R&D phase with you. They know you're not going to put in a big volume order, which means it's not really worth that time. But anyway, one guy was relatively new to business. He was the one who took me on, and he's the guy actually we're still with today.
Awesome.
So it ended up being like a good bet from his side. So 2 years in formulation with like food scientists, having to find like guys to do the label regulations because that's difficult, particularly so for that like teenage niche because it's not, and this is how the product fits in the market. It's like the bridge between baby food, baby powder, and mass market supplements. Okay, and it's that bridge, the gap in the middle.
Yep.
So there's no real legislation around it as well. So what we could do is make it to kind of the highest standards for adults because it's not baby food. Baby food stops at like, I don't know, 12, 18 months or something.
Yep.
So that took so long. And then I remember when the product was finally ready to launch. Again, I had to figure out how to build a website, all of that. I'd never done it before, but just purely out of necessity and wanting to be a careful steward of the investor's money, I did whatever I needed to do just to keep everything progressing and moving forward.
Yep.
Got to the launch date. I remember it was the 1st of March. Went live on the website. I was like, I can't wait for like everyone's going to come in. Right? This is my moment. Website on. Guess how many sales?
Yeah, crickets.
Crickets.
0.
One sale from my friend who felt sorry for me.
Yeah.
Because he just wanted to see what the product looked like out of interest. That was it. And then it dawned on me, shit, like I haven't got a clue about anything about marketing.
Yeah.
Bro, this is 2 years in. 2 years of like hustling, finding my way in the dark. Got this master plan. Everyone's going to buy it. I'm going to be a millionaire.
And by that stage, in that 2 years, was there like competitors entering the market?
No.
Is it still that blue ocean? Or?
Yeah, still blue ocean. And I think because it's such a sensitive topic, technically, it's more of a moral thing because you do want kids to have proper food at all times. This is there as a last case resort. So there's an ethical component, which again, I didn't fully understand at the time. And this is just, if I was to do it differently, this is a recommendation I would give to absolutely everyone, is immerse yourself in that target market.
Yep.
Speak to them, know and learn more about them than they know about themselves.
Yep.
That's how you're able to anticipate objections. This is how you're able to understand the pain points and then press on them with your marketing strategically.
Absolutely.
That's the thing I should have done. But again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. But that set me off on this whole deep dive journey of understanding sales and marketing and persuasion, digital marketing, and understanding the deeper psychology, just all processes, systems, Facebook ads, Google ads, conversion rate optimization, email, Klaviyo, everything. I had to do it, but I had to do it myself because I couldn't afford to pay anyone else to do it.
Yep.
So I ended up with the breadth and the depth of knowledge, which is very rare, but it was all out of necessity.
Yep.
And then from that point, it started to kind of go up. But the other side of it was I'd spent all of that budget on making that first batch.
Yep.
I was like, right, I need money to market.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to go back to the investor, cap in hand. But like, it was clever how we did it. It was strategic. So if you did put more money in, it was based on have you moved forward, and is your next objection you're burning cash because you're not being accountable and responsible, or are you making progress and now, okay, I need to buy more stock, or I need a bit of money for marketing. So thankfully he did end up putting more in, and it was only at that point that things started to click. But that first year was so difficult because I thought it's like an online business where build it and they will come.
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't be any further away from reality.
I thought the same thing. I know what you mean.
Well, and what I had to do, and this was every single weekend, and this is also working as well, a full-time job in sales, the worst type of job, energy sales.
So you're doing sales at the same time as building the store?
Yeah. And that ended up morphing into caring for my granddad who was ill because the carers were so bad. So I was able to like get a much better lifestyle balance, but I was still doing menial, horrible tasks. Like you don't want to be wiping your granddad's ass at 28, you know what I mean?
No shit.
Yeah. Obviously, it's fine. More than happy to do it for family, but just like.
But the things you were doing to manage your life in those periods.
I just did whatever was required of me to get and move forward.
Yeah.
And that first year, I remember, because I couldn't afford and didn't understand digital marketing, I travelled the length and breadth of the UK every single weekend, going to sports clubs, teams, soccer teams, triathlons, everything, and actually speaking to parents. It was only at that point that I was able to get an offline customer base that then would come back, build in a subscription, and then we were able to move things online. So that's like, you said before how difficult it is. As I give the example of a strongman pulling a truck, like 90% of the effort is in getting it moving that first like 10 centimeters.
Yeah, great analogy.
It's like to overcome inertia.
Yeah.
Is incredibly difficult, but then Newton's second law is an object in motion stays in motion until acted on by an equal, opposite, or greater force. It's the same with business. Once you've got that early momentum, if you can be super strategic and double down on what works, then hopefully you can kind of gain and it will snowball.
Yes.
But for me, that snowball took like 3 or 4 years. And when I say 3 or 4 years, that was still working, not taking a penny out of the business, and everything that came in sales went straight back in.
Straight back in.
To either doubling the inventory size so we could get a scale of economy, which means that the bigger the batch you order, the less cost it is, but inherently it's actually more expensive because you're doubling the order.
Yep.
And then back into marketing and then back into operating. So understanding the financials and the cash flow elements of e-com business. My point of this whole story is I couldn't have picked a harder, more difficult market.
Yeah.
Instead of like free flowing down an established market as a competitor and making 1 or 2 key points of difference, I literally invented something where there's nothing there, and there's a huge amount of resistance from the market because it's new. No parent wants that child to be a guinea pig, so they want to see testimonials. You don't have that. They want to see proof and evidence. You don't have that. It's all in a hypothesis. As much as there's plenty science behind it, it takes time to get that. So because this took me so long to understand anything, the depth of knowledge I had to have to be able to keep things moving, and also you've got to think that all outside perspective. Everyone's just like, just go back, get a job, just leave it, it's fine, it's your first business.
Always.
Yeah, it's investors' money, so it's not going to be debt on your side. And I was like, absolutely, like literally failure is not an option, and I will do whatever I need to do. I will become whoever I need to become to make this a success. So that's how I have the depth and breadth of knowledge that then enabled the next thing to be better, and then the next thing to be better. So it's not like you see the end result and you think, okay, this guy's like super switched on, super successful, but bro, like it would have been so easy, and every single cell in your body at certain times is just like, just quit.
Just
like,
give up.
Take it easy, you've tried, like whatever, pat on the back, maybe go again, and that just wasn't an option for me. Like I remember being on the floor, looking like outside a grey horrible day in the northeast, like crying, thinking like this is it, it's gone. Like I've tried, I've put like years into this.
Bro.
Like that's the level. Life will break you if you allow it to break you.
Bro,
Or
the amount of times I've been broken like that, crying on the floor in the corner, and the pain you feel is like, I kind of relate it to like heartbreak, where it's like you are just the most stripped back version of yourself. To a point where you don't know which way to turn. The only way is to keep moving forward.
it's through.
It's through. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's good. It's a really, really good point, because business can look, particularly so on social media, all roses, butterflies, whatever, the lifestyle, the watches, the cars.
Yeah.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
It's the best version of that.
And you're just seeing the highlight reel.
Yeah,
that's all Instagram is, or YouTube, right? They're not seeing the hard times. They're not seeing how you have to build resilience, just like you go to the gym and build a muscle. You don't see the person that you have to become, and how if you're not constantly evolving and learning, like literally life will destroy you. And that's why I keep saying all of this the practical, like how to, is learnable, but the mindset side of things, you have to be able to evolve and grow constantly. And it's like in business, this is what no one else sees. What I say is, your reward for overcoming a problem is a bigger problem.
Yep.
Can you be okay with that?
100%.
And can you transpire who you are, your belief systems, everything, so that you're able to cope with that? Because life will never throw a problem your way that you're not able to get through. But it's like it comes back to being a decision of is this going to break me, or I'm going to muster as much faith and energy and courage and do whatever I need to do to get the job done to the best of my ability.
Absolutely.
That's the mindset stuff.
And to build on that part, I want to take us to like this current moment right now, and make a point of everything that you've just said about things being difficult. I own a digital agency. I do 50, 60K a month in that. And from the outside looking in, most people would say you're set for life. But I still have the same pains and problems in my next goals to a similar degree, if not in some cases harder, moving to that next level.
Yes.
And the problems only present themselves as kind of like the next thing that you need to overcome, the next version of yourself you need to become. And like, of course, the momentum, it's easier from this point, there's no doubt. Like, it's easier than the start, but I want to take us back to like that 0 to 10K. I had the most fun making that 0 to 10K.
No way.
By far and away the most fun, because it was the making of me.
Okay.
Because all those difficulties in getting going and getting that momentum you talked about, just the pulling the truck aspect, just that little bit of momentum, the wins you feel, the dopamine hit you get when that first 2K a month hit my account from the first retainer I signed from an SEO client. Bro, like that is like no feeling you could ever have. And if I, like 2K a month hitting my bank account now is just like, it's just another notification. And it's not to say like, and this is another thing that I've kind of struggled with, like, I always used to hear someone say something like that to that degree and think, oh, they're just full of themselves. But it just becomes more normal life. And so that 0 to 10K, like I learned so much about myself in that journey, that it's like every revenue like milestone was something new I had to create within myself to get to that next level. Every single time. I wanted to ask you specifically about e-com. I have a few friends who are starting an e-com. I tried some stores, some Shopify stores when I was younger. So I did 2 drop shipping. I attempted 2 drop shipping stores. The first one was the good old trusty projector screen, drop shipping.
Classic.
Tried that, ran some ads for about 5 days. They didn't work, and I thought something must be broken. This is a shit business model. It sucks, and I hate it. The second one, they were called Indestructible Shoes. They were these runners that had a steel cap in the end. And there was one in the States. It was indestructibleshoes.com they were called. I don't even know if I'm allowed to be saying this, but whatever. And I emulated their entire store. And because they didn't have a marketing arm in Australia. And it seemed to me, I was like, okay, so they haven't got an arm in Australia, so that must mean that I can monopolise just Australia and New Zealand. And I set up the store. I put it all together. I loaded like the store looked sick. I was really good at building websites by this point because I've been working in an agency. I'm like, this is my big ticket. This is my big break. I can get out of the 9 to 5 finally. When I launched this, I can already see the money rolling in, like you thought as well. And I was a similar age to you actually. I was about 24, 25. I was living with my mum, and I had no money. I was broke as fuck, and I was working a full-time job. But I launched this store. 2 days into the store, I remember like second day, I had no traffic to it. I was about to run and launch ads. I got slapped with a notice saying you've been pulled down because you've emulated the American arm. They were obviously onto it because everyone was doing the same thing because this store was crushing it. Like they had enormous traffic, and I'm like, this is it, this is the one. And all my branding, everything was different, but I had no idea about legislations or anything like that. They pulled my store down in like 2 days. And like, mate, that destroyed my confidence. I was like, e-com sucks, can't do it. So people who are starting stores, like, tell me about, I think the thing that resonates closest with me, now I'm not an e-com guy. I run ads for e-com people. I know how to do that part. I've never like run a profitable e-com store. So tell me about, I have some friends who are just starting in this area. Some people have asked me questions, I know a little bit, but what do you think they should focus on the most? Or what are the components, and you've already mentioned this, but like what are the components that they should focus on the most to be able to see success of e-com?
Just wind it back a second when you were talking about new levels, etc. I got a motto for that, which kind of not makes it normal, but it's like new level, new devil.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing as the reward for overcoming a problem is a bigger problem, that type of thing, which is you're always transpiring, you're always evolving, always growing. But anyway, so ecom. So I've recently launched a school community to basically take on and answer the exact questions that you're asking me about ecom. At the minute, it's free. I don't know how long it'll be free for. It's called Invent Impossible. Put the link in the description if you want. Yeah, because I get a lot of people asking me the same questions, and rather than answer it individually, this is a place where I can collate, condense all of my knowledge, and it's out there. Okay, either work with me one-to-one, you can hire my team, done for you, or there's just, I normally do at least one group call every single week, where I'll just take on anyone's questions and we'll stay on the call as long as it takes to answer questions. So, what it sounds like you're asking me is, are there any shortcuts? Right? And I think you will inherently know that as a business owner that there are no shortcuts. And you find a lot who go into the drop shipping side of things, they try for a little while and then they'll just give up. The reason they'll give up, they'll say the product's not hot, or the market isn't there. They'll never stop and think, actually, maybe I'm not good enough a marketer. Because let me just give you like a fundamental principle. Almost every single product in development that's being manufactured, there is a market for. Guaranteed. So it's not the product, it's you, it's the entrepreneur, it's your systems. And this is where you need to be into that scientist mode. I call it the physics of progress, where it's a continuous cycle, and this is learning and acquisition across any field in life, business, health, relationships, whatever. It's always you start with a hypothesis, which could be the product, you then bring it to market, you test it. Did it work? Yes. Okay, do more. Did it not work? Okay, let's try something different. You're constantly on that cycle. That's the only way you make progress, okay, is by that iterative process of cycling and trying new things. Now, ecom has a lot of moving parts. You will know this. It's not just build a nice website. You have to think about conversion rate optimization. You have to think about the psychology. And with ecom, the unique challenge, as opposed to you going into a shop, is your customer can see, touch, feel, smell. They can't hold your product. So your means of doing that is 3 ways, and it all comes under the grouping of media. So you have to utilize or create good videos, good images, good copy. Your copywriting is super important. And I'm literally at this stage just talking about your web page or your landing page or your product page. Then you got to think about your branding. Big thing I see with dropshippers is they're on that pump and dump cycle of, okay, I think I found a product, let's do something, okay, then let's do something else, okay, I'll ride this wave and they'll do something else. You can never build predictable monthly recurring revenue from that, which is why you have to pick something, and the thing that you pick doesn't matter, but the way that I whittle it down is, can you pick or choose something that you would actually use, that actually has real world utility? And think of it on like a problem pain scale. The higher the problem or the higher the pain it causes for that consumer, the more likelihood it is that they're going to want to buy it, which means there's lower resistance. You can build like an argument if it's like a certain product around why they should buy it, what happens if they don't buy it. You're kind of prodding the pains, because think about why anyone buys anything. Current situation, desired situation, you bridge the gap. And normally the way that you do it is through utilizing time, quality, or cost. They're your 3 variables in selling anything. Okay, so irrespective of what the product is, you have to think about your whole website funnel. Okay, so you have to do paid marketing, you've got organic marketing, you've got your website. So I'm assuming most dropshippers will do Facebook ads. Can you understand the mechanics behind Facebook ads? Technically, it's never been easier in terms of the way your campaign structure and setup, because they've embedded automation, etc. So like running an A+ campaign. So you need to learn that. Then you also need to keep in and understand the psychology of sales and marketing. So your image or whatever UGC, your video, your headline, your call to action, your copy, understanding all of that, making sure that flows seamlessly. And then your whole back end side of things is it's not just run ads to the website and they either convert or they don't. That's how you lose money in ecom, because you got one chance. Maybe you have retargeting, you might get 2 chances, but what you really need to do, and they say the average touch points for anyone to make a conversion or sale is between 4 and 7. So that's 4 touch points. Sometimes if you can be omnipresent cross-platform, you need to get that email, you need to give value, give before you get.
Yep.
embed that low
So
reciprocity.
touch points, you mean like Google, they're hitting with organic, and then Facebook, they're hitting with a retarget on a Facebook ad, then they're getting an email.
Now you want a whole email flow, a well-architected email flow.
Yep.
And that's not just like making an abandoned cart. Let's get them in a welcome flow, and then let's just absolutely pile them with value. Don't ask for anything. Who else is using the product? So tons of social proofing, the technology behind it, how it works, how to use it. So you're anticipating any of the objections. Again, and this is how you sell anything to anyone, is understanding sales and psychology. And irrespective of the product, you're selling person to person, not B2B, B2C, human to human. Okay? And the psychology of why humans buy and sell hasn't changed for thousands and thousands of years. It's the same mechanism, which is why I say study psychology and sales and marketing, because it's applicable. And even if you don't make it in e-com, if you learn how to sell, you will never, ever, ever be broke. You will never, ever, ever not be able to walk into any business and get a job. It's not a thing, because which business doesn't want to make more sales? Which business doesn't want to acquire more customers? If you can position yourself as that person, like, it's universal.
And that's such a big aspect with selling with e-com. People believe coming into it that it's a great idea because they don't have to be the face of the business or anything, but you need to understand human psychology more than any other industry, purely because the product that is not a representation of just the product itself. It's the pain that it solves for an actual person.
There you go.
And there is somebody else on the other side of another screen who has that problem, and it's your job to be able to show them how that product solves the pain in the best possible way. One of the things that I wanted to ask you was, and it can be related to the e-com world if you want it to be, but what's going on outside?
Breathworks. Welcome to Bali.
Oh, true. They're actually doing it. Now I've lost my question. There's people outside making noise because they're doing breathwork. I think they're getting hyped up.
Yeah. It's about that time of day.
I've lost my question now. But what were we saying?
It's okay. I'll just finish off my rant anyway.
Sorry.
Just on the dropshipping side of things, I'm not a big believer in dropshipping, but I am a believer in brand building, and that's what I help early entrepreneurs or advanced entrepreneurs make that transition between. Because once you have a brand, you're off that pump and dump cycle, you're solving a very real high-paying problem to the world, which reduces the friction or barriers for people purchasing. You've got a whole ecosystem, because e-com isn't just do Facebook ads to a website. You can do that, but it's never going to be scalable. It's never going to be something that you can kind of build any sustainable lifestyle, because you're so focused on the front end and you're 100%. Constantly on the acquisition. That's why I say build something called a productocracy. Very good book by a guy called MJ DeMarco called Unscripted, and he has another one called The Great Rat Race Escape. Talks about a lot of the principles from. It's basically building a product that sells itself, something that has inherent virality built into it, because someone is going to actively want to refer. You don't have to be on that acquisition side of things. So now you're building a brand. You understand your customer better than they know themselves, which is one of the most important things, which means you can sell to them. You can talk to that person, to that exact avatar, also incredibly important. And then, now you have a brand. It's not a faceless brand. You have a founder story. This is who I am. This is why I found this product, I developed this product. So now, you're not faceless. You're able to story tell, which is how people buy. That's all built into your welcome series. It's personal thank you or follow up from the founder or co-founder, however you want to place it. And then you can diversify. You can bring out other products that have relation within that niche, within that vertical. And this is how you build a proper brand. The thing that puts most people off is they're very short-sighted. And it's like, I want to make an extra 10K this month.
How do I make 6 figures in the shortest possible time?
Not a thing. You want to be long-term thinkers, play long-term games with long-term people, Naval. Getting out of that cycle of just being super short-sighted. If you do want this to last a lifetime, you can do that. You can build that brand. And even if in the beginning you are selling someone else's product, you can, once you have the cash flow, once you've validated the market or the idea, you can put your own stamp on it. You can collect feedback. What don't you like about it? How can this be improved? Manufacturer, they're saying this. Can we change this? Can we add this on? Can we get a logo on this? How can we do this? This is how you build a brand. This is how you start with an initial concept, and then all of a sudden this thing's evolved into this amazing product range, or even if it's one product, now all of a sudden you have a moat around your business, something that might have even been red ocean, which is a lot of competitors. Now you're a class of one. Now people are coming to you. Now others are referring to you. Because it's a story, it's a real human running it, and it actually offers real world tangible value. So try and get out of that mindset, and this is what I teach people to do in my school community, is to make that switch from very short-sighted to long-sighted, and it's all about building a brand. Otherwise, like say you move from one month to the next, the last place you want to be is, where's my next sale coming from?
Yeah.
You want that predictable revenue. You need this to be scalable and sustainable. Otherwise, you've just got yourself trapped. And I felt myself like that for so long, is I don't know where my next sale is coming from.
Yep.
That is no way to live. That is no way to run a business. It needs to be predictable.
Yep.
And you can't do that if it's like, okay, I'm going to ride this wave in and now it's not working. Yeah, it's not the product's fault. It's not the market's fault. It's your fault. And that whole accountability piece.
Yep.
Again, if I could tell anyone to do anything, it's take full accountability for everything in your life.
Yep.
Stop playing the blame game. It's no one else's fault but your own.
And that's why business is such a good teacher for life, because
it's
it'll
the
humble you in every possible way.
The best. There's no better way.
Yeah. And can I just make a point of something? There's no scripts here. We literally came in from outside. We sat down and we're just talking, and it's because Lou has lived the life of honing your craft from day one, and going through all those challenges and meeting every challenge in so many different ways and so many times, that you're able to be able to riff this off because you've learned those lessons so many times. And like, I think that's another aspect of the, going through the hardships and being able to do that. I know I keep going back to that, but it's so true of like how to move through them, is to become completely obsessed with it. And it's an obsession, it really is. And it's the obsession I think it can be multifaceted, in a sense. You can be obsessed with what your craft is, but also obsessed with, I never want to fucking work for someone ever again. I never want to have to be able to go to 9 to 5 just to be able to make money and to get by. Not an option. And that's a massive part of where people, they fail, because they're not willing to do the really hard things.
Yeah.
And I said it in one of my videos recently, where I'm like, I almost feel bad for younger people coming through who want to build businesses these days, because everyone's wins are up there. Most of them honestly aren't real.
Yep.
They're not real.
No.
Like the people who are actually doing the real shit, they don't need anyone to know they're winning, because they just are.
Yep.
And it goes for e-com, it goes for service-based, it goes for agencies, whatever you want to start, it doesn't really matter. And actually, I really respect how you started with e-com and you're still going with it because of how difficult it is. I was in agency. So all you need is one of these and a laptop, and you can make. Dude, I had no business name till about last year. I have a business name, but no one even knows what it is because I didn't need one.
Right.
All I needed to do was make phone calls and text messages off this to people who might need my shit, and I can make money. And that's how close you are to be able to moving through. But I'm not just saying it's that easy. I'm saying that it's possible.
Yeah.
And like, I have a massive respect for how you have clear, incredible knowledge, because you have such a deep understanding of, your craft, but also you had an obsession with every single layer of that craft.
It never stops as well.
Yeah.
And if anything, I'm as hungry for new knowledge now as I was when I started. And I think another good point for if you are just like starting out is to get super clarity on your why.
Yeah.
Because I think Viktor Frankl coined the phrase, the right why overcome any how. And if you have a strong enough why, that burning desire to get into a situation, out of a situation, to achieve something, to get away from something, you will find a way through.
Yep.
Like, it's almost like life will conspire to line things up for you if you show it that you're willing to go through everything that's going to throw in your way to try and put you off.
Yep.
That's like, again, super fundamental. And that's probably the reason why I've persisted, is because sometimes I know what I don't want rather than what I do want.
Yep.
But then I got super obsessive with architecting my life. As I said at the start, life doesn't happen to me, it's for me and through me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like a massive mindset shift from the way everything around you is, or society, particularly in the West. Right? It's very scarcity mindset. It's very like, if you get something, hold on to it. There's no law of reciprocity built in. And I got like crazy obsessive to the point where at one point I'm literally mapped out everything about my life. Everything. Not just like material wealth or possession, just like my personality traits, how I dress, how I talk.
Yep.
I talk differently now to when I did when I first started. My relationships, my health, everything is meticulously mapped out. And if you meet anyone who knows me in Bali, my close circle of friends, also like all high-level entrepreneurs, which at one point I thought, why would someone like with that level of wealth ever want to talk to me?
Yeah.
It's mad.
Had the same feeling too.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's osmosis, right? You average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that is I had everything super meticulously architected as to where I'm going. So it's like now I have that North Star goal, and whatever's going to get in my way, I will literally just bulldoze through it. Like it doesn't matter what you do, I'll always
And you
find a
have
way.
that belief because you have the proof of so many times.
Yeah, but it's a compound. You only connect the dots in retrospect. Steve Jobs said that quite nicely.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the moment you can and will feel lost.
Yeah.
But if you ever come to a big decision, an easy proxy to understand which route you go is you have this North Star goal, which is a big, hairy, audacious goal, for Harnish good book. And it's a simple binary equation. If I make this decision or that decision, which one, does this decision move me further towards that goal or away from that goal? Yeah, so it's easy. Not easy, but like that gives you the proxy to make the right the right decision.
Yep.
Because it is, at some point, it will always be binary. And unless it's unclear, and then you go back into that physics of progress.
100%. And you can only join the dots looking backwards. You can't join them looking forwards.
You can't. You can plan things, but it's almost like life will conspire sometimes to throw a spanner in the works.
It never goes as planned.
No, it doesn't. But then when you look back, you can actually be grateful for it. You might think like the worst possible thing is happening, everything's falling apart, but then you realize this actually presented an amazing opportunity that would have never crossed. I would never have met this person, or this happened, I would never have learned this lesson. So it builds you, and that's why I say failure is the most information-rich data set in the world, because this is how you make progress. It is what I said before, pain plus reflection equals progress. It is just that whole, but I understand how it's all mindset. The tools, right? This is a good thing now. If you want to get an e-com, if you want to get an agency is amazing because there's very low friction. As you said, laptop, internet, phone, that's all you need. You don't even need a phone, to be fair. Yeah, it is that simple. E-com's a little bit more nuanced because you have systems, but it's still never been easier. So when I talk about it being easy to learn, I didn't have YouTube was there, but there was no proper tutorials on Shopify, on conversion rate, on Facebook ads, even though it's constantly evolving. The barrier to entry now in building a business has never been lower. Okay? And that's the converse of that is equal and opposite, is also never been more less barrier to entry, which means there's more people in the market. Your level of customer sophistication is a lot higher when it comes to what ads look like or what product placement looks like. But that's not a reason not to do it. It's actually an opportunity for you to get better and do what everyone else isn't doing and really get those fundamentals built on, because it's easy to say, oh yeah, this market is saturated. But I guarantee someone started something and you don't know about it and they're absolutely killing it because they've changed one thing. So there's always opportunity in it. And that's what you want to be as an entrepreneur. You're always looking for the opportunities. And once you learn how to do that, you see them everywhere.
I love that term, this market is saturated. Every fucking market is saturated. There is blue oceans within every single market though. And that's the thing that people miss.
One other thing that I've ended up inadvertently specializing in is taking e-com businesses from 10, 20k a month to 100k a month. So with a lot of the brands that I work with, that's how I've ended up specializing, is because it's a very repeatable set of software, systems, etc. Because once you have that established product market fit in any industry, in any vertical, whatever it is, the systems to take it from 10, 20, 30k a month to 100k, it's just all about marketing and pivoting things a little bit. So that's what I've ended up specializing on, and that's what brands will come to me. And it ends up being a bit of a superpower. And what I'm trying to do, and this is in the process at the moment, and this is why I met you at this mastermind with Dan Bolton, is to be able to productize all of this information and teach it to other brand owners, and then maybe have some sort of lead flow magnet where I'm still able to help the ones who are starting out with the mindset and the tools, because the tools and systems are the same for a 7-figure brand, for a 6 and 5. You're still using the same, it's just they're not as well detail oriented. So my plan is to be able to get this all into a course where I can literally teach anyone everything I know, because literally I come from the hardest start, literally. Couldn't have been any harder, really. Again, fair enough, whatever, Western society, I'm not, I don't want to overcook it, but my point is, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I know it sounds very trite and everyone will say it, but it's possible. I'm living, breathing proof that if you want something, you have that burning desire that you can get it. And now it's a case of, okay, because I've done it, I've proven to myself, it might have taken me a decade to do it, it doesn't need to take the next person 10 years to do what I've achieved. And I still achieve very little, in my opinion, particularly so when you come to mastermind events where you've got guys doing like, I don't know, 8-9 figures a year, you're nothing. You still know nothing. And that's why I say I have that every day.
The conversations are
mentality.
completely different too.
Yeah, super high level, but that's good. It inspires you. And that whole osmosis effect of people are either going to drag you up, pull you down, or keep you the same. You want to be around the puller-uppers wherever possible. So that's what I'm trying to do and distill is all of this knowledge so that anyone can pretty much leverage my experience. And that's that shortcut I was talking about. It's not about finding the right product or running the right Facebook ads or having the right email systems. It's all about the knowledge, just that kind of overall principles which are foundational and transferable to build on any platform. That's what I'm trying to distill.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm building at the moment.
I love it, man.
If anyone wants to get in touch with me, my Instagram is @LouAntonioMatera, and same for YouTube. So yeah, just drop me a message.
So Lou, not Luke.
Lou, L-O-U. 3 days later.
Yeah, not embarrassed at all. One thing I wanted to mention on that, something I've always said in a lot of my content as well, is about how I'm not the smartest guy in the world. And I've been able to put myself in a position that I never actually thought I dreamt possible. I only ever wanted to be, 6 figures a year, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Dude, I achieved that in once I got going, I achieved that in 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
I was starting to do that 10K a month.
Yeah.
Australian, by the way, for any international viewers. So piddly shit compared to a lot of people they're all talking in US dollars and pounds these days. So it's
I only live in pounds.
Yeah, it's different money, right? It's double my currency. But I digress. I don't consider myself to be the smartest guy. And in a lot of ways, mate, the way I hear you talk, honestly, you have a lot more depth in your understanding of a lot of things in comparison to me. And I have skills in different areas, but at the same time, I've been able to build a life for myself that would rival most of what people would want for themselves. Absolutely. And as an example, I never thought 50 to 60K a month was even possible. My mind couldn't comprehend it. But then we had William Brown here, who's from Dubai, and he's nonchalant about the fact that this January he just did 374,000 US cash collected in January in his coaching business, and he's doing 2 days of fulfillment a week.
Yeah.
And that just raises your own personal standards. You realize what's actually possible. So it's the polarity of the really hard start into momentum, and then you don't know what's possible until you actually see people do it. Yeah. And I couldn't be more of an advocate of just it's not about how smart you are. It's just endurance. It's how much you can tolerate. It's how much pain you can deal with. And everyone's scenario is different. Every entrepreneur has a pain story from the start. Everyone has everyone's been through it. And I don't care who you are, unless you've inherited something, you've not learnt shit anyway. But unless you've inherited it, you've got a pain story. Yeah. I've told mine a million times, but I only ever had that eye on the North Star. I only cared about every time I was beaten down. It happened multiple times. And every time I was beaten down, it's just I'm not giving up on this, because I cannot think of a life where it's either I do this or I die. Yeah. Not even joking. I know that sounds grim, but I know you'll understand that.
Absolutely.
And it's either I do this or I check out of the world. Yeah. And I almost did that, hence the skulls and stuff that I have. But that's the level that people miss. And I think a lot of the time, social media, the messaging we have, the ease of access to information kind of jades, people go into it jaded because they're like, this isn't actually that difficult. We're told it's not actually that difficult. When the difficulty, you meet it head on and you must go through. Yeah. You must go through.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
I'd second that as well. I don't think I can clearly testify to the fact that there's very little correlation between intellect and success in business. And one of the guys, it might have actually been William, it might have been Hamza actually. I think exactly how he coined it, but there's someone who's stupider, dumber than you, making more money than you because they aren't or weren't dumb enough to doubt themselves.
And they're just showing up.
And that's it. It's just showing up every day. Yeah. Hormozi has a good one where business it's just length and time in the game. You don't win it. Yeah, the only way you lose is if you stop, if you quit. Other than that, it's length and time in game. And Naval is all about playing infinite games. Yeah, long-term people, long-term games, long-term play. Again, same with the brand, long-term, not short-term, short burst, short-term thinking, short-term businesses, short-term everything. You need to understand how you flip the script and become a scientist. That's it. And also understand how much power you have as a human being to architect and shape the world around you. As opposed to the way we're brought up as things happen to us, or you are the sum of your current circumstances. That is not true at all. It's easy to say like now looking back, because I had the exact same limiting beliefs where I remember I used to listen to Bob Proctor in the beginning. He had one line where I was like, yeah, whatever, good one. And it was, if you can see it in the eye of your mind, you can hold it in the palm of your hand. And it's going more down like the manifestation side of things, but it's so true. Literally, if you can, and think everything around us now originated as a thought in someone's mind. But what was the difference? They took action on it, they brought it into reality. And you can do exactly the same if you start off with the right intentionality, and then you have a strong enough burning why to push you through and to get through or become whoever you need to be in order to bring that into reality. Again, for me, it sounds like super foundational, but I remember like really like shooing that off service. It's just like nice to have, or okay for you. You're sitting on like 10, 20 mil. But that's just not the case at all. Every winner was once a beginner. Again, it's just, and success leaves clues. And that's why I made a habit of obsessively focusing on millionaires and billionaires, how they think, how do they make decisions, first principles thinking. I read or have read 2 books every single week for almost a decade now. I'm obsessed.
It shows, man. It
literally,
shows
I'm obsessed
with your wording.
But it's not an accolade. It's all about how much of that can you actually retain and take action and put into practice. That's the only thing that matters.
The action aspect.
But I'm hungry for it. Like, I can't wait. I do 2, sometimes 3 walks for an hour every single day. My routine is actually interesting. We can get into it if you want. And that is all, I'm either listening to a podcast with an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur. Again, success leaves clues. What can I learn from them? How do they get over the situation? Or I'm studying their books. And it's either psychology, it can even be like things like anthropology, sales, marketing, autobiographies, all of that, because this is how they're able to get across. And think about it, you're basically reading someone else's thoughts captured on paper. Like, that's as good as it's probably going to get, particularly those who are dead, than having an actual conversation.
Not just thoughts, they're best thoughts.
Exactly. It's distilled.
It's constrained into a way that there's no fluff around it. It is the hardest hitting, most actionable items.
And guess what? Most of this is free. Okay. Think of every most high level entrepreneur who's alive today, or even some who aren't, have a book. Most entrepreneurs, even like someone as high profile as Elon Musk, is doing podcasts. He's dropping source for free. You only have to buy a book and just flip on YouTube. Even books, if you have a Spotify, the popular ones are hosted on there for free as part of your subscription. YouTube Premium's $12 a month. There's most books are on there as well. Think about just buy a book, right? I know sometimes if you get in a thrift store, it's like pennies or cents. It's nothing.
And this will be free. It's going to be the best content you ever listen to and watch in your entire life, mate.
But you have to develop the habit of, you don't necessarily have to be as potent as I am on it, but just developing that habit of modeling success and standing on the shoulders of giants. As I said, success leaves clues. So how can you make a habit of actually pick someone you want to emulate, or someone who's achieved something, and just try and get into their way of thinking, because that really does route a path, particularly so if things aren't clear. It helps you just, how did they navigate that? And most of the times, they didn't get it right on their first business, or there was some almost catastrophic events that they had to navigate around. I always use a good example of Phil Knight, the Nike founder. He's got a big book called The Shoe Dog, I think it's called. Very good. But of that book, right, say it's that thick, big ass book, that much of it, which is the last 10 pages, is about the success. The rest of it is just all pain and struggle and lawsuits and no cash and faulty product, all of that. Now we say it is $1 billion brand. But when that first started, honestly, I think it was called Blue Ribbon originally. The amount of struggle that he had to go through to get that going and keep it going and sustain it is ridiculous. But we only see the end result. We don't see everything behind the scenes.
Even the movie, man. And that speaks to the masses too, because it's like, we'll just pick out a part in time. And we'll just show that part, and you don't get the full spectrum of actually what happened. For him to bring that into fruition. I want to talk about lifestyle, because I'm going to say off a whim, because we actually haven't spoken about this just yet, but I can already get a feeling for how you're talking and how you construct words, the fact you read 2 books a week. I am the complete opposite to you, right? And this is a really good like validation for anyone who might be like Lou or like me, or similar in those characteristics. Like, I would consider myself, in comparison to the typical entrepreneur, whatever that is these days, I don't even know. But like the hustle and grind mentality, I am the complete opposite. I'm entirely relaxed. So my literal day, I do the walks as well, but I do them for procrastination, not to think about too much, bro. Like, I literally go for walks. I'm just like, I can't be fucking working right now, man. I'm just like, I just want to listen to music and do nothing and just empty my brain. And like, I'll read a book once a year, if I'm lucky. And that's not joking. So like, and I know these things actually slow me down, because Dan talks about this a lot, Dan Bolton. And we're at his event. If you we hadn't mentioned that, I think we have. But he talks about it a lot, where he's like, I'm going to get to 500K per month. That's my next goal. But I am not going to sacrifice anything about my lifestyle to get there. And Will was saying, Will Brown, he's like, I'll race you to 500K. And Dan's sitting there just like, I'm not going to race you because I don't care. Like, I'm like, I'll get there when I'm ready. And like, I adopt a lot of that mindset in that sense. Whereas I'm feeling this from you, where you're like, the personal development aspect, you are just embracing and just in love with how all of that works. And it's not because it's like, this is based off a feeling, but like, and Lou and I haven't spoken about this just yet, but like, it seems like you just have a high sort of threshold for wanting to cram as much into your brain as you can to retain it. Would I be right in saying that?
I'm a student of life.
And
I want to know everything about anything, but because I enjoy it. And as I said, it's the only available cheat code that I know of to make quantum leaps focus, and make quantum leaps forward. And I'm always looking for asymmetry in decision making. So watch the small input that has the massive output.
And see, and just on that, sorry to interrupt, I care a lot less about that. And it's not because I don't want to have quantum leaps in my life, but it's because I need to go in seasons, and if I don't, I will burn out too quickly. There is no way I could mentally withhold 2 books a week. I would do 2 pages and I'd be like, fuck this. And it's only because that's just the way that I'm wired. It's just what I enjoy to do with my time. And I've managed to get to where I'm at. And like, I know that the next level of me will require a different version to be able to get there. And we've spoken about that. But my lifestyle very much is kind of like a season of like a bit of maintenance, where I'm like, all right, transition period into some coaching stuff. Like, let's see what's out there for lifestyle. I optimize for lifestyle. And I don't care if I'm not the one who doesn't know the most in the room, but bro, I love my lifestyle. And like, I don't have an alarm. I never have an alarm. You won't catch me dead awake in the morning too early. And if I am awake early, it's because I haven't slept yet, or I've been watching something on TV too late. I will stay up late because I just enjoy the peace and quiet of the late. But the things that are extremely regimented in my life are like, my meals are, like, my health and my meals are like top priority. Like, that, nothing will get in the way of that. I eat well, I sleep well. I am at the gym every single day. Like, that's just part of my health cadence. Like, there is elements of my life that are extraordinarily regimented, but the other areas, I'm like aloof. Like, I'm very much like very, very loose with all of that. Will I tighten those things up when I know it's right to, okay, this is the goal that I'm shooting for, this inspires me, I'm fulfilled by looking at this goal, things will get tightened up and I'll start to dial in. But it will be seasons of that. So I'm maintenance right now, but the next one will look like something that goes growth time, okay, what do I need to focus on, and just focus on that one thing. So how do you manage that for yourself?
I think it's the same in the way that you manage your money or spend your money. You spend in accordance with your value systems, and you have more of this conscious entrepreneur lifestyle design side of things, whereas I'm shooting for 100 million and nothing will stop me get there. And that's why I say with the North Star.
Or as in like liquidity or
cash in bank.
Cash in bank.
Cash in bank. Well, obviously diversified net worth as well. You don't want cash in the bank. Not good.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely not. So the whole conscious entrepreneur side of things is your North Star. You might be living this North Star goal again, current situation versus your old situation, you would have done anything to have and do and be who you are, doing what you do, have what you have, right? So there is no right and wrong way to do this. Okay,
Everything works, right?
exactly, and it's what, like, as it is, it depends on your value systems and what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you can think of a classic entrepreneur like stressed out, horrible family life, loads of cash in the bank, utterly miserable, and that, to a large extent, in general, can be true and is true in a lot of cases, particularly so for the billionaires. It's a very lonely journey. It really is, particularly so if you're striving for that level. So it's how can you reconcile and be okay with that, and also ensure that you have irrefutable standards that you will not compromise on, whether it is not having an alarm in the morning, or whether it is I just want to make 50, 60, 70k every month. As long as that's it, I'm done. I have everything, all my needs are catered for, I'm building wealth, I'm able to diversify that, my family's happy, I'm healthy. That is all that matters. A number in bank is arbitrary, and it can be taken away from you at any point as well. You never know what's around the corner, right? So you're going to optimize for enjoyment, right? What's going on?
I actually don't know.
Anyway, so there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no right or wrong way to be.
Yeah.
The thing that entrepreneurship offers you that being in a job doesn't is agency.
Yeah.
And that is the ability to choose
Yes.
to do what you do, how you spend your day, because you're not depending on something or someone else for your income. You have complete control over yourself, your destiny, your time, your effort, your energy, your relationships, obviously within reason. And that, for me, is a very high value system. But I sacrifice that because I know I'm building. I'm in that building season.
Yes.
If you like, however long that takes.
Yes.
I have a big, strong North Star goal, and I won't stop until I get there. And from the outside looking in, that can seem pretty miserable or ungrateful, but I have this internal fire and drive. And I don't know if it's because there's still a lot of work to do on the childhood side of things. I mentioned I was brought up in a cult. Obviously coming from no money, literally poverty, being like crazy amounts of consumer debt. And I always give this example on podcasts where we will most times run harder away from pain than we will towards pleasure.
Yes.
There's a good experiment done, I don't know if you heard of it, with the rats.
I think I have.
Yeah, so basically they have a rat in a tube, its tail's attached to like a force and a spring and a coil, and they put cheese in front of it. It's starving, they've starved it, and it's pulling really hard to get to the cheese. That's experiment one. So I say it's pulling, I don't know, 70%, like going for it. And then this time they do a similar thing, but instead of putting the cheese in front, they waft the smell of a cat from behind, and it's pulling 100%. And that can sometimes be the same in our unconscious decision making, is that we hate pain as human beings, right? And okay, yes, it's fine to have the cheese dangling out of the goal. And sometimes if you're running away from something, it's even more motivation to not let it happen. So I'm hyper aware of that. And sometimes you do want to tap into that dark side energy. Probably don't want to spend anything more than 10-20% there, but it can sometimes give you the fuel and fire, and that's how sometimes you get through the tough times.
100%.
But it doesn't matter, it's unique to everyone. There isn't a way of, like, perfect way of being. There isn't a way that you kind of win this game. It's an infinite game. Entrepreneurship is an infinite game.
And on that, that's where I very recently, which is a lot of the reason why I'm here, and I'm so glad this has happened. I'm so thankful and grateful this has happened. But I came to the awareness that money doesn't make you happy, because making it and having it in your bank account is one thing, but the fulfillment piece a lot of the time is missing for me. And I made record months just recently, and it meant nothing to me. And that's when I knew I'm like, something isn't right. And so that's where I gave Dan a bunch of money, and I wanted to just change my environment. I was like, something needs to give here, and I need to change what's happening around me. And that feeling, I couldn't really describe it, because if you had told 21-year-old Ben that, bro, you'll be on 50, 60K a month in the next 4 years. Sorry, not 4 years from there, 4 years from when I started, but 21-year-old Ben, that as your ultimate goal, I probably would have sat there and gone, well, life would have been made by that point. And you don't realize. And so like that's where I also learned that I prefer to have my money purchase a lifestyle, which is why I chase money. But I actually chase money to fund the lifestyle. That's what I prefer over everything. And I thought I wanted a supercar. I bought this watch because I thought I wanted expensive stuff. And after I bought it and walked out, I felt no different to when I walked in. There was the excitement didn't exist. I did it because I was like, is that not what you do?
Yeah.
And I wear it as a reminder that, hey, you're not here to earn a lot of money. I like wearing the watch, don't get me wrong, that's why I'm wearing it, but like it's a sign, and you don't learn those things until you get there. But from the very beginning, that's why I go back to the 0 to 10K was the most fun.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's so true, man.
So your current scenario now, where are you at the moment, and like what challenges are you having right now as you're building?
Okay. So obviously super proficient. My current situation is I'm obviously super proficient in e-com. I literally say to anyone I can sell anything to anyone online through the digital space.
Yeah.
It's a superpower that I've had to craft and develop over years through a lot of struggle. Now I'm back in, not that I was never out of it, but like I'm back into like startup student mode because now I'm pivoting into constructing a personal brand.
Yep.
I'm going into education. And I still have the e-com stuff on the side. I still have a team looking after the e-com brands as well.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to make a big shift now into how can I productize and systematize my knowledge.
Yes.
And teach as many people as possible and break as many limiting beliefs as possible that I am not special.
Yeah.
I am not clever. I am not lucky. I am the opposite of lucky. Okay? I create my own luck. Yeah, through time, effort, sacrifice. I've architected my own life, and I just basically wanted to be able to give that back as like living proof that anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And be able to distill those key lessons. I've got a lot of knowledge. I'm trying to like let it flow through me and document and put it and procedurize it into a course, but there's too much.
It's so challenging to be able to pull that out of
really
here
is.
onto paper as well.
It really is. And a lot of it's situational based as well, which the nuance of each unique situation, it's impossible to encapsulate into an hour video or something. It's not. It's like multiple modules. So that's my current challenge, is how do I make that transition from doing the work, another sale coming through, doing the work.
That's a sale, right?
That's a sale coming through, yeah. All right, let's have a look. How much revenue? $1,000 straight in.
That's what we love to see.
Man's made $1,000. That was the second one actually, since we've been in there. Anyway, all right, what was I saying? It's a transition from doing to teaching.
Yeah, it's basically e-com stores to
Yeah.
teaching, and
Exactly.
that's the transition period.
Exactly, yeah.
And how funny is it how much of a student of the game you need to become again
No idea.
to go back to that?
It's so true, and you learn so much more depth about it when you're trying to show someone else how to do it.
Yeah.
That's another like head fug.
Absolutely, because
like-
you got to return to your younger self.
You do.
Like, because you're going back to lessons you've learned
Yeah.
a long time ago,
Yeah.
and you have to relearn them.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
But back in that student mindset and that learner mentality, and then also understanding that not everyone thinks the way I do, not everyone is as obsessed with success in business as I am, and being able to taper how passionate I am,
Yeah.
and how much I have self-belief in myself to know
Yeah.
that others don't have that yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the thing in business, this is what again I want everyone to understand is you have to be able to be okay with this as well. The struggle is guaranteed, the success isn't.
Yeah.
Can you be okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah. As I said before, it's not who am I, to who am I becoming, or I can't do this. It becomes I can't do this yet. Yeah. Because business is hard. Yeah. It is incredibly hard. As we've both attested to, it will bring you down to your knees.
Yep.
Multiple.
Fact. Fact.
Multiple times. So. See, for example, you have a lot of people when they're starting out, or even when they're scaling as well, there's a lot of imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
I'm having that again now, and I'm like, wait, what?
Same
like,
here.
irrespective of whatever numbers or how many stores I've built or what track record. I just got another store yesterday to $1 million in a month. In a year. I'll show you. I'll bring it up. Let's just go on to total orders. This is last 365 days. Right, there you go. Last 365 days, $1 million. This is just another store, one
Yep.
store.
And just one of the stores
and
that
that's
you
from
built.
nothing.
Yep.
That's
That's
zero.
from just starting.
Yeah, and
Yep.
this is a
Pounds, by the way.
pounds. Yeah, so this is technically a dropship product as well, but it's like a brand built on an existing product. So that the way to get over the imposter syndrome, Hormozi has a good one. Outwork your self-doubt.
Yep.
But it's not as easy as that, because no matter sometimes how much you've done, when you're distilling that information and teaching someone, it's like if you can't explain it to a 4-year-old, you don't understand it yourself.
100%.
So you have to think outside the box a little bit. And also, online there are so many gurus, so many, teaching very similar things, or might even look a bit red ocean. and understand that I do have a unique perspective. I do have value to give.
Yes.
And the other thing is knowing that I have enough credibility and I can actually show real results. I'm hopefully a living embodiment of someone who's been through a lot and still come out the other side relatively unscathed and successful and better for it. So again, it's a weird mindset shift again for me in that transition, but it is almost like starting again. And I have a lot of doubts of like, can I teach people? Was I just lucky? Am I a one-off?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And the whole other thing as well of actually exposing and putting yourself out there. Because now with the e-com brands, you're right, I can be the ghost in the machine. I didn't ever want any fame. I didn't want to be associated with anything. Another side story, I've actually been on Shark Tank.
For real?
As well, yeah.
In the UK?
In the UK. This time last year, it was May, June of 2023.
Wow.
Got investment.
So it's going to be coming out at some point?
Another long story. We didn't end up getting aired because of another business, which got like so much negative press that the BBC were like, we just can't afford to take a risk on this. But anyway, we still went on and we got investment, and that is the hardest investment pitch you will ever do in the world. Yeah. So like to be able to invest and pitch with like lights on you and you're speaking to like 6 or 5 multi-millionaires and a billionaire and getting investment from the billionaire, there's no like, in terms of like outwork yourself out, there's no harder investment pitch, because normally if you go, if ever you have the opportunity to speak to an investor, you're going for a coffee, there's a bit of small talk, you're having a conversation. In there, it's like rabbit in the headlights. You've got a 3-minute elevator pitch which they give you 10 days to come up with.
And they're just like staring at you like, you better get this right, otherwise get out.
Literal screw face.
Yeah, deadpan.
Stone face, poker face, deadpan. Yeah. And you have to like rattle off this, like emotionless as well. Yeah. Like if you can do that, generally you can do anything. But even after all of that, even getting a successful bid, I'm still like, I don't know if I'm good enough for this.
Dude, if I can come back to that as well, I think the imposter syndrome is actually a sign of humility to start with. But secondly, to the day you die, I don't think it goes away. Yeah. I think you get comfortable with knowing that the imposter syndrome exists because a version of you once before wanted this life. Now that you have it, you have a bigger responsibility. And I don't think the imposter syndrome goes away. And I asked the crew in there a question about, hey, a pretty big player wants to deal with me with Facebook ads. And I know Facebook ads backwards. I have people who spend 10K a day with me. Yeah. Like, I know them backwards. I know how to do it. But I still question myself. Also moving into it and transitioning, similar to you, I'm transitioning into coaching of some sort, and I'm not sure what that looks like just yet. But as I go through that stage, I'm like, oh, can I build another business again? Exactly what you've mentioned. Yeah. And I think you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, yes, that's an easy way of putting it, but also the fact that the imposter syndrome never actually leaves you. Yeah. And I think if you're able to, put a lasso on it a bit and control it in a way that's like, I can back myself in to have the courage to still do this because I know it, and I know that I know it. Yeah. At least that should be enough so you can move through those times to keep on. It's just undeniable proof every single time of results, and you never always get it right. You never always get it right. This shit just happens that sometimes you can't control. Okay. And I love hearing people's stories where they talk about they took a risk and it didn't pay off because. I can't tell you how many times I started and stopped something because I failed at it. Yeah. And I don't think enough people talk about failures either, because the failures are really what mold you at the end of the day. Like the wins, they teach you not much. They teach you what data to look at to win again. Yeah. But as far as like losses go, they're the ones that teach you the most of what, A, not to do, but B, they teach you the hardest lessons.
Yeah. And sometimes knowing what not to do is equally as important as knowing what to do. But it's like in the face of apparent failure, are you going to regress? Are you going to back down and then go back to what's comfortable, which is, again, what we crave as human beings, familiarity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or are you going to take the lesson from it and now I've actually made a step forward, not backwards, because now I know what not to do. Yep. It's that switch and choosing empowering beliefs. And with failure, the way I frame it is, you want to fail fast and you want to fail intelligently. And the failures that you make, you don't want them to be failures of not trying, of sloth. They want to be failures of ambition. Yeah. So you're still moving towards something. It's an attempt to do or try something, and that is the only way. It's like when you're a baby, like because you fell over the first few times, does that mean I'm never going to try walking again? Yeah. Or the first relationship you had when you were at high school didn't work out, does that mean nothing else is going to work out? Yeah. Like those small things you don't think about when it comes to business. and say, oh, it's too hard, it's too difficult, I don't know, it's not for me, they're better than me, they're further ahead of me, a million and one reasons, and you can convince yourself anything. You can talk yourself in or out of absolutely anything. So how can you choose to reframe things so that it's empowering beliefs?
Yep.
Nothing and no one tells you or teaches you this. It's just the knowledge is out there, but I'm talking in terms of like a fundamental curriculum in school.
Yep.
The things that matter, money management, relationships, health, wellness, business, entrepreneurship, understanding how to manage money. Like, it's just not there. It's not a thing.
No.
When you end up going on the opposite side and thinking that it's almost like a big psyop to get you trapped, to get you into that worker bee mentality, keep you small. And then anyone who has achieved anything, it must have been via nefarious means. They must be crooks, they must be criminals, they must have stolen it, or they must have inherited it. I remember seeing the survey, it was something like 80% of millionaires are self-made. And the ones who aren't have inherited it. They're some of the most miserable people in the world.
And or they've lost all the money.
Or they've lost it, yeah, exactly. But it's like that reframe again of, if you want something bad enough, you can have it. Again, as trite as it sounds, it's all a matter of how much you want it and what you're willing to go through to demonstrate to God, to the universe, however you want to coin the phrase. Is how much are you going to push back and how much do you want it?
And it's also in your own way. So there's so many things that trip me up along that journey where I would look at other people and I'd buy courses and all of us entrepreneurs have invested tens of thousands, if not hundreds, into courses, into mentorships and these kinds of things. And the mentorships and courses were only from other people's point of view, like their own personal experiences, and everybody's is completely different. And something that took me a long time to learn was I'm a different character and person to literally everybody else on earth. No one's in competition with me because I am me. You and I are vastly different people. We have vastly different characteristics, but the things that we have in common in business are the facts that we did hard things, we pushed through, we had endurance, like we were able to overcome those obstacles purely from what's up in here and nothing else. That's what we have in common and that's what connects us. So like, you can do business in your own way. It doesn't have to be like someone else. Take parts of what works for other people and apply them to your own personal situation. I think I made myself sound like a bit of an ape before when I'm like, I'm lazy and all this sort of shit. Like, it's not that I portray those characteristics all the time. I wouldn't have built the business I have to this point if I didn't have the characteristics that allowed me to get there. What I'm saying is, that is my personality. That is something that is innate to me, and like there is no one else like me. And so, for that matter, I need to deal with those demons when they get in the way of my success. And the only person that can get in the way of my success is myself. So if I'm getting up at 9 a.m. and I got shit to do, you better believe that I'm going to change that and I'm going to start getting up earlier so I can get that shit done. Or if I know how much intensity I need to bring to certain things, or if I, as a perfect example, I tripped myself up just recently because I'm like, I need to do some research on the type of person I would love to coach. And so, but I want to create a lifestyle where I don't need to do sales calls. I just close in the DMs and these kinds of things. I'm good enough for that, yes. Okay, but what do I have to do in the meantime to gather that data? I need to make calls, man. I need to speak to people. I need to start conversations. I need to go back to basics. I need to humble myself. And that's the only way I'm going to be able to move forward. And it doesn't mean that I can't eventually have the business that I'm after, but I still need to do the things that eventually will get me to that point. And you still these are lessons I'm reminding myself of now after building a $500,000 a year business. And it's like even saying that word just then, actually, I'm like, I'm playing a small game with these guys and yourself. I'm playing a small game, and like that allows me to be able to level up. So that's just such an important aspect of like what's up in here will inevitably determine what direction you go in, and only you have control of it.
Question.
Yeah.
How do you pause information around, what do you think on like manifestation, law of attraction, just out of interest?
I think it is one of the biggest keys to success. And I say that because I relate it back to the gym. My body has been built off a manifestation of a vision in my mind. And I got into the best shape of my life in lockdown, actually, in terms of an aesthetic appeal. And as a younger man, I envisioned a body that was perfectly symmetrical. So you think about Arnie as an example, and his body, like that's what I was shooting for, right, in my own way. Now I've been natural my entire life, and like I've battled with like wanting to go down that route, but I was willing to do anything to get there. And I had that vision in my head constantly. Now I had the vision in my head and I had it for insecure reasons, hand on heart. Like it was to get girls, it was to, to look good on Instagram.
That's why guys do anything, right?
100%, man. And I mean, money was the same thing, right? You learn those lessons as you go. But as far as my body went, that was the thing that has set me up for most of my success from a mental standpoint. And I think, hey, let's go.
500. Sorry.
$500?
Yeah.
So what's that, $2,000 since we've been sitting here?
2.5.
2.5. And every single rep that I did, every single workout that I did, it was all I had in my head. What do I want my pecs to look like as I'm bench pressing? How do I want my legs to be shaped as I was squatting? Like these kinds of things as the manifestation and the vision in your brain. Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
I mean, one of the perfect examples of envisioning. And like to me, when I was younger, it sounded very woo-woo because I'm like, I'm not a very spiritual person, hand on heart, like I'm not. But there are so many spiritual aspects to success, if you ask me. And I truly believe that. So being able to, like, you can only achieve what your mind can see, right? The third eye. You can only achieve what your mind can comprehend. And like, my mind can comprehend far bigger things than what I have now. And I know that that's the only way I'm going to manifest them into my life. So I'm sure you asked because you got something to add to that as well.
Now you encapsulated it perfectly. And it's what I said before, that Bob Proctor quote of, if you can see it in the eye of your mind, you can hold it in the palm of your hand.
Yes.
It starts with intentionality. But then I sometimes modify the law of attraction because it can be very woo-woo. Like you can't meditate your way out of a tiger attack. At some point you physically have to get up and move.
I love that.
Yeah, it's true. So yes, it's the law of attraction, modified it's the law of action. But it's action, strategic action in alignment with that goal, with that purpose, with that end vision. And you have to spend time familiarizing yourself with what that end result looks like. And that's why I say planning out meticulously your perfect day. And I'm talking to the finest detail.
Just did a YouTube video on this.
Oh really? There you go. So again, have a watch of this video. And that'll really go into it. And it all ties back in together.
No, please, extrapolate.
It is. It's just literally being super conscious around what you're optimizing for or where you're going, because eventually you do get what you ask for. I don't know what's going on outside.
Exactly. What are they doing?
I don't know. Some primal stuff. Let's have a look. Oh, Jesus. Jumping in the pool.
Where are they? Oh, they're jumping off the
they're jumping off the diving board.
They're jumping off the diving board.
All right, sorry.
There's a diving board out there. I think it's like a 6 meter drop.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
But the pool's 1.5 meters deep, but then there's a hole that's 5 meters deep.
Yeah.
I think Hamza was terrified to jump in.
Oh, really?
He's probably jumping in now.
Okay, fair enough. I can't believe I missed that.
He probably, yeah.
That's all good.
He's not going to look. Anyway.
All right, so law of attraction. Where's it going with this? So you do ultimately get what you want for whether you're striving towards that or not. It is as simple, basic fundamentals of inputs and outputs. And in order to achieve a certain goal, it requires a certain amount of inputs, and you can reverse manufacture those and then take action. The law of action in attraction, law of attraction, is that you can actually modify, and this is why I say life will conspire to give you what you want if you act with intentionality.
Yes.
If you get super crystal clear, like crazy detail oriented, and you familiarize yourself, go to the Rolex shop, try the Rolex on, go and sit in a supercar, go and take it for a test drive, make this normal, raise your standards, get familiar with it, and have those irrefutable standards that you're not willing to drop below. And I don't know if it's just a human thing, but we never like to regress in terms of income, in terms of lifestyle, and sometimes business in the beginning, because you don't have that safety and security or bubble, or comfort zone of a job and of income. You don't have that. You don't. This is the thing with why mindset's so important. In a job, you have a boss. You're accountable to someone. Okay, they tell you what to do, when to turn up, what to wear, how to think, when you can go to the bathroom, what time you have lunch, what days you have off. As an entrepreneur, it's you versus you. And this is where the habit stacking is really important, because you have to now become self-motivated. You have to manage your energy, your attention, and where attention goes, energy flows, and results show, flow, or grow.
Yep.
Okay, you haven't got anyone telling you don't do this. You haven't got anyone telling you turn up this time or do this call that time, or you can take this time off or do this task. It's up to you to be able to figure out how best to optimize your day for whatever you're pulling towards, whatever your goal is. You have no one telling you, or like, it's stupid, but you are in a job, you're accountable to your boss. As an entrepreneur, it's not like I want to quit my job so I don't have a boss. I want to be my own boss.
Yep.
That accountability switches, and now you're accountable to your customers, to your clients, to your spouse.
And they are your boss.
Exactly, yeah. And ultimately to yourself.
Yep.
And it's a bit of a weird thing because everyone thinks, like, I've got a horrible boss, I just want to like do my own thing. But it's not like that at all. And that's why I say you've got the blindfold on and you're finding your way in the dark.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm obsessed with learning, so that I've got a little light on over there, so I kind of know not to do that. But the whole law of attraction thing is, the way it feeds back into it is, I'm trying to think of a way to put it where it's succinct. I think it's just a case of starting with that end goal and reverse manufacturing what you need to do. But sometimes, or most times, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So how can you break it down and attack one problem at a time?
One problem at a time is really important.
So many times with entrepreneurs, they're thinking, oh, how am I going to deal with 100 customers? Well, I haven't even got one customer yet. Why are you even thinking about
Start
that?
from the start, man.
The sequence, follow the sequence. Yes, anticipate things, but deal with whatever the problem you have at the time, and naturally they will stack. The problems will increase.
Yeah.
And you don't want more problems. You never don't want any problems.
Yeah.
You want to optimize for better quality problems.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of having no clients, now I've got all these clients I can't manage. That's a problem. That's a real problem.
Yep.
But it's still a problem.
Yep.
Yeah. But this is why you think outside of the box and look at creative solutions.
Absolutely.
Or you want the problem. Like if I zoom out as much as possible, there's a good example by, you've seen Jackass?
Yeah.
I think it was Steve, or he was on Stephen Bartlett's podcast. And this is just about optimizing for problems. And it's like, people at both ends of the scale have problems. Just one has better quality problems than the other.
Yep.
So you've got the guy on the street, his problem is, where's my next meal coming from? Big problem, okay? Then you've got the millionaire who's just sold for 10 million, and his problem is, how many meals have I got left?
Yeah.
Still problems,
Yep.
but one is a better quality problem than the other.
Correct.
And that's why if you can kind of reverse manufacture things a little bit and not get overwhelmed, break things down into bite-sized chunks, otherwise things just will overwhelm you.
Yeah.
But every decision you make is always in alignment with that North Star goal, and most people don't set goals.
Yep.
Well, they say, good way to phrase it, was it a goal without a, I can't remember, it's basically saying that it's just a wish and not a goal.
Can I just build on that? The goal setting, I've never done goals personally. But this is why I said that I feel bad for people who are in this day and age where there's so much information because they feel like they're doing something wrong every step of the way.
Yeah.
I was blind in the direction I was going. All I cared about was like finding what to do next to be able to get forward.
You still had a goal.
I still had a goal without setting a goal. Okay. Like I've never been good at goal setting.
Yeah.
And like for me, I just went forward I was like a bull in a china shop. Like I just did shit. And that blind action was really helpful for me because it suited my personality. I think you need to work your goals into how you operate with them best. And for me, like I've tried the goal setting thing where I wrote them in a notepad and I was like 3-month goal, 6-month goal, 10-year, whatever. But the thing that it just never worked for me. I just was never able to stick to it. So the thing that really works for me well is this is what I want to get to. How much is that one?
It's only a small one, 54.
I will take it.
Take it.
That pays for the subscription
There we
every
go.
month.
Happy to. Sorry for it.
But I had the goal of what I could envision was the end, and I just, whatever was in front of me to do next, I just did. And whether it was right or it was wrong, and usually it was wrong, to be honest. Yeah. But you start to stack the rights more as you get closer.
Exactly.
And before you know it, you're there.
You're falling your way forward.
Yeah, and exactly how you mentioned. And like it was the most powerful part about that for how I operate particularly. I never imagined I would get to here. I ended up here by accident. I really did. Like
I think it's intentionality. It might be subconscious intentionality. Have you ever said an anti-vision before?
No.
So you get clear on what you don't want and what you're moving away from.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. No, yeah.
That's still as fundamentally basic as setting a goal.
Yes.
Because now you know what you're moving away from, what you're not optimizing for. the whole pain pleasure thing. Sometimes that is an interesting thing because everyone's thinking forward.
Yep.
No one's thinking what I don't want.
Yep. And it eventually manifests.
It does, yeah. Yeah. What is it you get when you develop on that whole
Bro,
concept?
I think we've probably been recording for long enough now.
I know,
And this has been a sick chat.
Yeah.
We're going to hang out for the rest of the time in Bali, and we got one night left, and then we head back. I go back to 7 Degrees Melbourne, and you stay here in Bali.
Yeah, I've got a villa in Canggu.
Villa in Canggu, and I'm sure we'll connect again, bro. But for now, this has been a sick chat.
Really enjoyed it. Pleasure to meet you, man.
You too, bro.
keep in touch.
And I can't wait to make some more shit in the future.
I want to see where you are in another 3 to 5 years, and we'll meet again, and we'll think about how stupid we are right now, in the way that we thought, in the way we acted. I hope that's always the case every time I look back. In
100%, man. I'm looking forward to that. And how can people find you again?
Instagram, Lou Antonio Matera. School is Invent Impossible, and YouTube also Lou Antonio Matera.
And I'm just Ben Knievel for everything. And bro, it's a pleasure.
Same, bro. Good on.